I think there's so many things that make this next chapter unique. I think first and foremost, Mike directing is a tremendous thing in the context of our films. We've done so much work to sort of build these characters and their journey and so much growth, I think, between all of us collaborators. And so for him to step in to the directing chair for this one, I think makes it really special. And then, I think what makes these films inside of, obviously, the boxing, I think what makes these films so special is the relationships. And to see the relationship between Adonis and his daughter, Amara, to see their relationship grow, I think that also makes this film special, is that you sort of introduce a new relationship that becomes the centerpiece. And then, of course, the relationship between Jonathan Majors, his character, and Mike's character, I think that adds a kind of richness that all of the fights are complicated by something that is really personal. And I think that when these films really sing, it's when it's about the relationships. I think really centrally, I think the thing for Adonis has always been struggling with what his legacy is, what his purpose is. And, the very thing that Bianca says is trying to impart to her daughter, which is it's not enough to just, know that you want to fight. You want to know why you want to fight. I think the same is true for Adonis, that sometimes he's compelled so much by this outward idea of what success looks like, and he's not always focused on what is internal. And I think that's something that makes the character really relatable. I think it's something that can happen to all of us sometimes. I think sometimes there's this idea of you get to a certain place in your career, you get to a certain place in your financial mobility, that means that you're happy, and that's not always true. I think the things that really make us fundamentally happy are our connections with the people that we're around. And I think that's something that you get to see them understand in new ways in the context of this film. What I love about the way that these films speak to the importance of family is that it's not just the family that we're born into, it's our chosen family, it's the family that we have in the folks that mentor us, in the folks that we mentor, in our relationships inside our community, inside of our teams, that the idea of family is really different for every single person. And that's something that I think is really important about these films. And in some cases, that's your family by blood. And for many people, family comes in all sorts of different chosen, beautiful ways. And I love that our films speak to that when it talks about family. I think that you get to see that with them, that they're, particularly for Adonis, there's this real inability to really open up and talk very candidly about what's happening with him internally. And I think what I like about the journey of our film is that you get to see that, like, no matter how hard the conversation can be sometimes to begin to tell someone your truth, that it's always better when you do, It just is. Whatever happens, it's just better when you do. And that there's no real healing without being able to do that, to take that first hard step. And once you do, it's usually, I don't know, I found at least, not as hard as you think it was going to be. Just as much as Adonis is sort of harboring this secret about his past and a friend that comes back into his life, Bianca also hasn't been honest with him entirely about how hard it's been to not be on stage and perform, and what that's done to her sense of self, or the struggles inside of motherhood and trying to figure out, what your life is besides that, which many women struggle with, I think. So I think once they begin to talk, you can see that's what I love about them, that they feel aspirational in this sense that, like, they're not perfect. They're, like, perfectly imperfect, but they're trying, I think what felt exciting for me in this one is that she also gets to have, her own areas that she's struggling with. I think that's something that's always felt important in the characters, conversations that Ryan Coogler and I had in the beginning. Sometimes there's this tendency that the female character is sort of like the rock or the voice of reason, and while that's probably definitely true a lot, well, women can do that very well and tend to. I also think in the context of storytelling, sometimes it doesn't allow us to also have our own humanity, to also be the person that needs somebody else to help them see. Because we know that we all do sometimes, that we are not these like perfect pillars of wisdom, of sage wisdom. We have our own internal struggles. Damian is an old friend and someone that used to be in like foster care with Adonis, and I think they used to be very, very close. Damian is also a force in Adonis's life that I think got him very interested in boxing and active in that space. And they shared this really intense time together, and then their lives went in very different directions. And I think because of that, Damian is someone for whom Adonis holds a tremendous amount of guilt and some regret that I don't think he's processed, and that he hasn't needed to, because Damian's been away and in prison, and now he comes back. And I think all of those emotions and feelings and thoughts that have been unprocessed come back to the surface and really create sort of the crux of the conflict in this third installment. Yeah, it's been tremendous to get to work with Mike as a director. I love him so much. I think a relationship between an actor and a director at best is one that has a tremendous amount of trust and respect and admiration, but certainly trust. And we have that in spades just because we've been working together for so long and we know each other so well that there's this sort of unspoken understanding. And then it's just been really fun to watch how seamless he is with it, that he could be entirely in a scene. My favorite thing is that sometimes he won't yell cut. He'll just like very slyly do this, like while he's kind of still acting. And it took me a while to notice that he was doing it. And then I caught it and I was like, that is very smooth. That is very smooth. When we're opposite each other in the scene, he's entirely Adonis and playing the scene. And then he comes out of it and assesses what he needs to assess in terms of, all of the rest of the elements. But when we're playing together, he's my acting partner. And that, to be able to shift between those two things with such dexterity is really just such a talent and a gift. And I sort of suspected it would be that way, but I'm hugely proud of him. I think he wanted the world to feel really big while also maintaining the sort of intimacy between characters that makes the film so special. And then, he has a relationship with so many of the heads of department from having made the last one with them, whether it's Kramer who shoots the film or, Heathcote who operates, or Lizz Wolf who's doing the costumes. And again, I think to have such a level of trust and a shared language and lexicon, it just makes things, I won't say easy, because making films is never easy. There's always challenges, but there's a richness to the relationship, and there's a kind of trust there. And I think when people feel like they're trusted and they can trust the folks that they're working alongside, you can take big swings and big risks. And also you just work harder because you're just like happy to be there. I don't, she's everything. And getting to work with her, and also to see her move so seamlessly, and for this to be her first big film. And she was just so natural, so natural, and also so serious. Her work ethic, just the way that she took to boxing. And she gets this idea of the sort of like, the sort of force that you need, but also that you have to stay loose and relaxed. She's so incredibly special and gifted, and I can't wait to see, what else she will do. Yeah, Jeremy has been such a gift. I was a fan of him from afar before making this film, and when I knew that he was going to come and work with us on it, I felt so incredibly lucky to have him, and he's worked so tremendously hard on this, like above and beyond. He cares so passionately. He's also so poetic and imaginative and fun, and tough, really wants us to get it right. I think, but what you don't want is someone who goes easy on you too much. I think he both made us feel so comfortable and safe, and I'm, really excited to be a part of getting to see it on screen more. And not for nothing, I don't think there's been a lot of depictions of ASL, by Black folks on screen. I think there's still a lot of invisibility in that space, in a space inside of a community that already there has not been enough visibility. And so that has been just incredible to look around at all the folks that are helping us and working with us, and to see, representation that there hasn't been, and to know what that might mean to a lot of folks has been really like heartening and humbling, I think, for us all. I feel like I have had the real honor and privilege to get to know folks inside of that community through this film, and certainly this installment of it. I can speak broadly, though, about what representation means to me, which is that, like, I feel, I don't know what it is, but I think being able to look at an image, a reflection of you on screen is powerful. I don't know why we care about it as humans, but it just is. And I think, particularly being of color, I know that, like, you're tasked so often, or at least certainly during my childhood, I was like, I could relate to all kinds of protagonists. I didn't have to see someone that looked like me. But the moments when I could see an image that felt like a reflection of me, it just hit different. I don't know why. It just does. It's affirming. He's so spontaneous and free, and in this part explosive and interesting and charming and all those things. And so the moments that we got to play together was really a gift. And then just to see him, really take it on, I think, particularly for Mike and for Jonathan, for any of the boxers in this, is such a physical undertaking. And on this film, we front loaded all of the boxing stuff. So it means that the guys were shooting for about, like, I think 3 weeks, almost a month, of just all of the fight. So all the fights. So the amount of stamina and fortitude that it took to go through that is incredible. And to see Jonathan do that with, really with such grace and seemingly so much joy. He seemed to have so much fun. Oh, it was so fun working with Jose, and he really, it's so incredible to watch the boxers, come in and work on these films. That's been one of the pleasures of working over the last 3, is they come in with their own sense of authenticity and story, and it's so interesting to watch them enter a new space, because obviously they know the ring so well, but the ring in the context of a film is a whole other thing. I'm still so excited and in, like, charmed disbelief that we get to make a third one. Like, I think when we first started the first one, we didn't know what these films would be, and now that they're their own franchise and standalones is really, I still, like, relish that. I think getting to see these characters in another, stage in their growth, getting to see these new incredible characters, inside of our film, that are all so wonderful. Their performances are really just all so incredible and exciting. I think that that's something to look forward to. Yeah. I think that's the thing about making movies, is sometimes there's these happy accidents.